So I'll just admit, and then more people as they come, we can get started, I guess. So this is Rachel Baker, and she is the communications manager for Stanford Surgery. And she is going to talk to us about creating a content marketing campaign. Rachel, take it away.
Thank you. I'm gonna share my screen here. And can you see how to create a content marketing campaign? Excellent. Okay. So here we go. So when California issued its first shelter-in-place order in March of 2020, I don't think anyone realized how much it would affect the upcoming residency recruitment season. We had our 2020 match day just a week into the official pandemic, and people had assumed that we would be back to normal in a matter of months. But COVID didn't go away, and so in June, my vice chair of education and I sat down to take a critical look at our marketing plan. Subeyes, which are basically a clerkship for med students from other schools, were canceled, and there would be no in-person interviews. No way for our prospective residents to get a feel for our program. And in surgical residency, that's a big commitment. Our residents spend at least 7 years with us. But our mission remained the same: get at least 17 awesome residents to rank us #1 by March 3rd. So the first thing we did was look at our differentiators and figure out which ones we wanted to focus on. We looked to our vision statement and identified these 3 words. The first one was lead. How is Stanford Surgery a leader in the field? Discovery. Thankfully, Stanford is anonymous with research. And innovation. That's all of the opportunities that come from our unique location in Silicon Valley. We also wanted to break up our content across platforms and by type so that we accommodated all types of learning styles and preferences. Not everyone wants to consume information in the same way. We already had a ton of written content up on our website, so we chose to spend a majority of our resources on video, with the knowledge that the average person spends an estimated 16 hours per week watching videos online. Our first phase was live content to take the place of those missing sub-Is. The goal here was to get med students, AKA MS4s, to apply come September when application season officially begins. We started the webinar with our department leadership, including our chair, vice chair of education, vice chair of research, and that was followed by specialty-specific breakout rooms with the 3 program directors, key faculty, and residents. I do not have to tell you how hard it was to get them all in the same Zoom call. One of our program directors actually Zoomed in from the OR after a case. Our main forms of advertisement were emails to program alumni and posts on Twitter and Facebook. Our hope was not only to communicate directly to MS4s, but also to get faculty at other academic medical centers to recommend the webinar to their mentees. So how do we measure success? Well, the fact that our competitors followed our lead by hosting their own virtual open houses was very flattering, but also the number of people who attended the full session. You might think that the obvious next step was to post a recording of this webinar, but we did not record it so that the participants would feel comfortable asking and sharing questions openly. What we did do, though, was capture all of the registrants' email addresses. I worked with each program, that we have 3 different residencies, to develop follow-up emails, one for people who did attend and one for people who didn't. And all of the potential applicants were added to a listserv so they received our monthly e-newsletter. Our second piece of live content was a week-long Twitter takeover by our residents. Why not Instagram, you might be asking? So surveys of our past intern classes have shown that while many 20-somethings use Instagram personally, they'll use Twitter professionally, particularly if they have presented at a research conference during med school. I asked each program director to identify residents so we could get a diverse mix of years, race, genders, etc. And I also invited my fellow School of Medicine communication directors to do this with me. The idea being that we could generate more buzz around Stanford and our residencies together. 6 other departments joined us, and it was perfect because we could promote each other's content thanks to the collaborations between departments. At the end of the week, I used Brand 24 to get metrics on how this portion of the campaign did. It was a free trial, but you can pay for their services if you want to continue doing that. Our hashtag, SU Resident Takeover, was mentioned 150 plus times over the course of the week. There were almost 2,000 likes and more than 300 RTs, and the social media reach was more than 69,000 people. So we thought that was pretty good. Honestly, though, I felt the real win was the interaction between the residents and the med students and the opportunity to show off a week in the life, which is as close as we could get to virtually to the experience you'd get during a sub-I. So the next part of our plan, the biggest part of our plan, was video content. Our goal here, we decided, was to create 3 videos highlighting our differentiators and 4 virtual tours of our hospitals. I didn't meet this goal. The day of our innovation interviews was the day after the second shelter-in-place order began. Thankfully, we were able to pivot, and I ended up with 15 videos instead of 7. So in addition to the mashup videos that we had planned, I made extended cuts of all of my interviews with each of the residents. Each video got an end screen like this one, and were tagged with keywords based on my YouTube SEO research. YouTube is a search engine, it's owned by Google. In addition to their promotion on YouTube, we also advertised these on Twitter. We embedded them on the website. I also customized the subtitles so the videos were accessible and people could watch them wherever they were with the sound off. So, was it worth all of this time and effort? We think so. As of last week, these videos had a total of more than 4,000 views. The second most popular video is a tour of the VA, which the residents don't even get to see when they visit in person. So that was really surprising to us. But that video also applies to other residency programs. So that might be a factor there. The most popular video wasn't even planned. To get the residents comfortable for their interviews, I asked each of them why they came to Stanford. I realized while I was freaking out about the innovation video that all of this great content was just sitting there. So I aggregated the answers into one piece. Lastly, the average watch time and our number of subscribers on YouTube since we started this portion of the campaign has doubled. So that's awesome. While producing the videos, I simultaneously worked on the written content. I wrote a series of articles on past, present, and future leaders of surgical societies, which we called Hail to the Chief. And I was able to do 9 stories by rank match day. Each story was advertised independently, but I also made a page of all of the stories to showcase the series and elicit that feeling of, wow, we have a lot of leaders in surgery. You could come to Grand Rounds and sit next to one of them and do research in one of their labs. And you could do a case in the OR with one of them. Like, that's awesome. But was it a success? And we're a little unclear on whether it was. Certain stories were more popular than others. The content, however, continues to get more hits over time. For instance, Dr. Chang was president of the Hand Society several years ago. So you'd think that his wouldn't be as popular, but his interviews has actually been read the most. And we think that's at least partially due to the time it takes for SEO to ramp up. The other part of the written content campaign was to highlight the research produced during our residents' professional development time, fit into the discovery portion. We posted these stories on our blog, but also on Scope, the Stanford medicine blog. Some of these were written by me, but most of them actually were not, which is actually the best case scenario, because not only was someone else doing the writing, allowing me to work on other content, but we were able to capitalize on Stanford Med's 300,000 social media followers. This story on abdominal adhesions received almost 6,000 unique hits. Abdominal adhesions. What? But yeah, they have the right audience for this content. And this story about, which is the most recent one that we posted, has only received about 300 hits so far, but that's still 5 times more than the average story posted on the surgery blog. Just to note, we link to all of the scope articles in our monthly e-newsletter and on our website's news page and on our social media. The last piece for this campaign wasn't actually included in the original plan at all. But I've always liked the idea of creating a BuzzFeed style interactive quiz. People love taking those. So in my lots of free time due to the pandemic, I figured out how to use an app called Interact, which is free and will embed into AEM. The quiz shepherds you through a series of fun questions like, how do you like your avocado? And do you prefer to ski or surf? That highlight our unique location in the Bay Area. The last question is, which is the best surgical specialty? And depending on which one you chose, you got a message like this one. Each result was customized for that specialty. And when the user clicks on the little button at the bottom, an email is automatically sent to that residency's program manager so they can connect the MS4 with a resident. I decided to premiere this quiz on November 5th, 2 days after the presidential election, which probably sounds like the exact wrong time to release new content. And Bjorn is probably somewhere rolling over and being like, Rachel, no, that was wrong. But I was super stressed out, and I thought other people were too, and that they might appreciate something right, a break from the madness and the stress baking. So it turns out that they did. They wanted that. And we had more than 200 hits on this quiz the first day. And it's gained about 300 more since then, but we have actually only tweeted it once. So did we meet our goal? Aside from all of those metrics from each of the individual portions of the campaign, our biggest metric was always how we did on match day. And I am incredibly proud to say that, yes, we did meet our goal. We actually filled all of our categorical and preliminary spots pre-soap for the first time in probably a decade. We can't remember the last time this happened, and we're trying to figure it out. Additionally, this story, which I posted on our blog, made Twitter our #2 source of visitors to our website last month, with 318 unique hits going to this story alone. This news article was actually the first step in figuring out what's next. Residency recruitment is a cycle, and we've already started thinking about how we'll iterate this campaign for the upcoming year. My VC of education and I have agreed that the video series was a huge success. So we've already started doing a series on our fellowship programs. We've started working on the innovation video again, now that that shelter in place order has lifted. And we'll add more extended PD interviews to the collection. We're also doing a huge push for our annual research day called Holman Day. And everyone can come because it's being live streamed. And there's also a virtual reality poster session, which is like so awesome. And it took tons of work, but I think it's totally going to be worth it because it's not only great for the presenters and because it's special and we couldn't actually put up all 52 posters, but people can walk around in this virtual setting and, just experience it sort of like they would in the real life. The rest of this campaign, though, the 2021 campaign is still under consideration. As the COVID situation evolves, our tactics will need to as well. So let's talk about some takeaways. The first thing you should probably do when creating your content marketing campaign is identify your differentiators, if you haven't already. What separates your program from all of the others? What makes you special? And then you're going to need to make a goal. Our goal was, we had the same goals we always do, and we had a SMART goal. We had a deadline of March 3rd. The time to build your network is before you need one. People actually say that about job searching, but this was incredibly true for recruitment as well. A study published yesterday in the American Journal of Surgery showed that 59% of general surgery programs have a social media presence, but that only 32% of those 32% of those accounts were created after March 1st, 2020. Needless to say, I do not think that our advertising strategy would have been as successful if we didn't already have an established following. Coordinate with stakeholders. You do not, I spoke so many times about asking my program directors to, tell me, identify residents for interviews, identify residents for the Twitter takeover, join me for this Zoom call. You need them to be behind you, and not just your leadership, but the whole department. They need to know what the plan is and how they can contribute. Cross-post your content. Why only post on YouTube when you can post the same content on your website and social and the e-newsletter? And that doesn't mean simul post, because you shouldn't do that. No. That means cross-posting. So you take a different message and you take the same piece of content, but then you decide how to talk about it in a way that makes sense for that particular platform, because obviously you're going to use hashtags that are different on Twitter than you are on Facebook, etc. Oh, sorry. Here we go. Find people with common goals. Marketing is better with friends. Don't be afraid to pivot. And it's not a problem. It's a challenge. It's an opportunity to be creative. And last but not least, check your metrics constantly. See a statement above about pivoting. Thank you. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Sorry, I was having trouble finding my mute button. Thank you, Rachel. That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was very fun. Very fun. We do have a question in chat. I'll just start with that one.
Yeah.
I can think of more. So the question is from Danielle, and it's about your videos. For the videos, how were they recorded, remotely or live? And then did you record them via Stanford Services or using an external vendor for those?
So fun. So actually, I was talking about this with Claire before everyone else jumped on, and that is that I've actually been back to work since July. So when I was talking about doing interviews, I was doing those in person. When the second shelter-in-place order did happen and we were planning on doing that fellowship series, we did do those remotely via Zoom. And we were sad because that, kind of diminished the quality, but we again pivoted and we tried to make it more personal and just really show off each of the fellowship program's individual personalities. So I have one where the fellow was literally right outside of a case in this lobby that's behind me. She was in this lobby in her scrubs with her scrub cap on her phone doing this interview. And I was like, this is perfect, because it was so, it just described the program more than I think words could. So we did not use Stanford Services or an external vendor. I recorded all of them myself with the help of Eloise, my D750. And we recorded them out. Actually, we have a large conference room, and some really nice person decided to paint one of the walls a matte 50% gray. I was like, this is amazing. Like, so I didn't even need a backdrop. I was just like, we'll just use this. This is fantastic. And I bought some cheap video lighting off of Amazon and a lavalier mic. It was easy. And I think because I was doing it and it was in a conference room that was familiar to all of our participants, that just made them a little more comfortable too. It wasn't some scary producer from the outside. It was just me. They're a friendly neighborhood comms person.
That's awesome. Cool. Let's see. Does anybody else have questions? Oh, Kristen.
I'll do a link for video. Yeah. So that is a good question. I hate to say, when people always ask me for like, how long do you want this to be? I'm a huge quality over quantity person. I don't like giving people time limits. I always say that it's as long as you need to tell the story to, give the answer. So we tried for the videos to be between 3 and 5 minutes, which seemed to be a good length. That's about how long people stayed to watch. Usually it was about, 2 to 4 minutes when they would watch the videos. So I thought that was pretty good. We do have much longer videos on our site though, including, so we post grand rounds and those are probably about 45 minutes. And so I think it's the type of video that you're doing. If you're talking about revascularization of, I don't know, the femoral artery or whatever, like you might need 45 minutes to talk about that. But I think the intention of these was much more to give people a feeling, also information, but then to get them to just, I don't know, like something that they could grasp onto and get to know our residents and the feeling that is Stanford surgery, because we're a crazy bunch of people and we're wonderful. And, I think that you can't get that in written content, and you probably weren't going to get that in interviews because everyone wears black suits. It's weird.
That's great.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that you used Interact for your quizzes surveys. Why did you choose that one? Because there's so many out
There's
there.
so many.
And I've not heard of this one, so I'm really curious. And I like that you were able to send back individual responses based on their questionnaire, which I think is genius. Does Interact allow you to do that more than the other regular survey platforms?
Yeah, so that was something that I was looking for. I didn't want to just put out a BuzzFeed quiz. I wanted it to have, like, what was the goal of the BuzzFeed quiz besides just being fun? And that was the idea behind that button of being able to send the email to the residency program director. And the other big thing for this was that it had to be embeddable in AEM. I don't know if you are a Stanford Med person, but
no, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm an outsider, but I'm loving this word camp.
Yeah. So all of Stanford Med is on Adobe Experience Manager, which, and not even that, but we're inside the School of Medicine. I call it the sandbox. And you're allowed to play with any of the toys that are inside the sandbox, but you're never allowed to go outside the sandbox. So you have to find things that will work. And when I tried Interact, it just worked seamlessly. It was just so simple and it embedded beautifully and it didn't look like it was weird, but with some kind of like scrolly iframe or whatever. So that was, I think, the number 2 biggest reason.
What was
I didn't want to link people out to other places. I wanted them to come to our site.
Right.
In case they wanted to go other places.
And what was your learning curve on it? Like, how long did it take you to learn that platform?
Oh, it was super easy. Like
really? Good.
Yeah, like I was just in the user experience session. It was a wonderful user experience.
And that's INTERACT?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to check it
might
out.
be missing some vowels as web server applications often do.
Congratulations. This was a great case study and congrats on your success.
Thank you. I'm super excited to meet them when my interns arrive. We get to spend 7 years with them, 8 with some, if they decide to do like an MD, PhD or whatever. And it's, they're like my babies. And so when match day is so exciting. And just having this, result of people, not just all of the categorical spots being filled, but all of our preliminary spots pre-soap was just, we were so excited. And people, they like us. They really like us.
It's really cool. One of my friends, one of my partners who works at Donor Network West was just super excited that all the slots were full and that, everybody seemed happy, and it's really neat to have been able to hear from you, who basically helped to do that. That's super cool, Rachel.
Thank you.
Question?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Question. I'm trying to restart a staff affinity group that sort of fell apart, the Disability Staff Forum. If anybody's interested in joining, please let me know. But building your network group before you build, what do you have any suggestions on what the best way to reach people at Stanford is, to just let them know that, hey, this is here, and you haven't heard much from us because we really haven't been around. We've had some issues.
Yeah, so that is, I skipped over the creating an avatar section of my creating a market campaign because it was always the same avatar for us. So that wasn't a big, we didn't have to switch over. But creating an avatar, I think, is really helpful of being like, they're 20 somethings, a majority of the people who are either 4,000 people who want to be general surgery residents each year. And most of them are white and most of them are male. And, we don't actually want them, the people that I want, not that I don't want white males, but I also want women, I want people
Yes.
of different backgrounds. So
Of course.
figuring out where your audience is, I think is huge.
Yeah.
And figuring out who is that ideal person who is going to join your group, and then figuring out where they live, where they, go to happy hour, where they, what other groups are they already in? I think content strategists, there's a lot of crossover between content strategists and social pros, or social pros and the UX group. So finding those places that your people already are, I think will help you find your tribe.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Good job.
Thanks. Well, there's another.
Yeah, there's a question.
Yeah, analytics. What are you looking for specifically? Do you look at them individually or use a system to monitor them all together? So I use a bunch of different systems. I use Hootsuite for social media, but then I also use the internal metric systems for Twitter and Facebook to figure out what time my people are online. And then I use Google Analytics. So, which is, will tell you about hits and things. I used Brand24 specifically for that one hashtag, but then School of Medicine, I think, has a subscription to Khoros. And so they have also supplied me with some of those analytics. Am I looking for something specifically? It depends on what the campaign is. If it's just to get the word out, then I'm looking at reach. If it's the Hail to the Chiefs series, it's not only unique hits to the page and how many reads it's getting, but also whether people are exploring the site after they read the story. No dead end pages. So once they get to that page, are they clicking around? Are they exploring the rest of the site? Are they looking at other things? That's a huge metric for us. So I think it really depends on what their goal is of that individual portion of the campaign. And then also with analytics, I think the biggest thing to remember is that I call it reading the tea leaves, because it is an imperfect science. Are people visiting that page because it already looks good? Or should we, make it look better because people are visiting it? And so maybe, they need to find the right information. It's an imperfect science. So when you're looking at metrics, just always take it with a grain of salt.
Awesome. Thank you.